Today we're going to talk about how to set up a Lightbar using the SoundOff Signal Lightbar configuration software. This software allows N-Force, M-Power, or forward Lightbars to be programmed for use with Blueprint, a 400 series siren, or as a standalone that utilizes some other switching source. Each Lightbar comes with a breakout box, otherwise known as a bob, with default programming. For many, this programming works just fine. In fact, the default programming is set up to use with either a 400 series siren or some other switching source. But you're probably here to learn how to customize the program. Well, before we do that, let's discuss the hardware and the software you'll need to do so. Start by downloading SoundOff Signal's Lightbar software and the FTDI drivers, which are both available on the SoundOff Signal website. Additionally, you'll need a USB-A to Mini B cable to plug into the breakout box. Let's get going with a program. You can use either the default program that came with the Lightbar, or you could create one from scratch. Obviously, creating a program from scratch takes a little bit more work. To modify the default program, first plug into the breakout box, and then click Download, and the Configurator will pull a copy from the breakout box. Each time you click Download, the configuration software will give you a chance to save the currently displayed program. In this case, I am going to click No. Once your program is downloaded, it's just a matter of assigning what each module is going to do. For example, if I wanted inboard 3 on the driver's side, the red-white module, to be a takedown, first I'm going to click on the module, and then I can go down and assign the different functions to it. So if I want a takedown, I can click white. If I wanted to do a cruise mode, I could give it a red cruise mode. Same thing for any of these other functions, steady on, low power. We're just assigning different flags to what that module is going to respond to. We'll cover how to activate the different flags a little bit later in this video. To make the selection process easier, we have an option to select multiple modules at the same time. By clicking this checkbox here, I can now go up and select different modules and apply a function to all of them all at once. For example, if I wanted these 8 forward-facing modules to be part of the scene function, I can go down to Scene and apply what color I want them to do. When the scene flag is turned on, all of these lights are going to respond with the scene function. When building a new file, the first thing you have to do is pick the type of Lightbar that you're going to work with. In this case, we already have an exterior Lightbar selected, but if we wanted to change that, we would go up to the product menu at the very top left and click the drop down. That'll allow us to select the different types of modules. I'm going to go ahead and select an interior Lightbar / traffic controller. Every time we make a change of the type of product, it's going to ask, do you want to save the file? In this case, I am going to click No. Just like before, we're going to start clicking on modules and assigning different functions to them. In this case, we're going to start by assigning the colors first. So if I were to click on my front inboard number 1, I can assign whatever color I want that to be. I'm going to go ahead and make it a red-white. I can do the same thing. I can go and click, pick a color, and repeat that process. There's also some tools that you can use to speed things up. To the left of all the color selections are options for all front, all rear, all drivers, or all passenger side. Each of these selections allows you to do a whole bar or a half a bar or one side of the bar, or you can even take it down to a quadrant. If I wanted to do the all front in the blue, red, white color, I can go over, click on that, and go down to blue, red, white, click, and it's going to populate the whole front of the bar. Now for the rear, I'm going to split it up. I'm going to change the colors a little bit. So I'm going to click all rear, and I'm going to do the driver's side in red amber, and then I'll do the passenger side in blue amber. After that process is done, we're just setting the different flags like we were before. So if I want to take down here, I activate takedown. M-Power Lightbars have a very cool function on them where they can actually read the color of the module right off the module itself. This differs from N-Force because N-Force, you have to assign the colors in the program. And it doesn't necessarily match the colors on the bar. It's going off color position. So if you had a blue, red, white, and it was a tricolor, blue is your primary color, red is your secondary color, and then white would be your third color. But if the light was actually a green, red, white, when you told the blue to flash, it would flash green. And with M-Power, it actually reads the light color right off the module. And for this to work, you have to have the bar powered up, and it has to be connected to the breakout box. The breakout box also has to have power and ground to it. And there's a data wire that gets connected between the light bar and the breakout box. As long as all of that is connected, you can do what's called Identify Modules. To do so, there's a button on the very left of the screen called Identify Modules. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to identify? It's going to overwrite anything that's on the screen right now. So if you already had a program, make sure you save it before you click yes. I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And there you go. Just like that, every single module has been identified right off the bar itself. Now, just like before, we assigned the different functions to the different modules. Now that that's all done, it's time to start setting flash patterns. Let's go and click on the Flash Pattern tab. Flash patterns are broken into 3 sections: individual flash patterns, multi-select patterns, and flash pattern modes. For each pair of modules, a pattern can be set. For example, if I wanted to adjust the pattern on the front corner modules, I can do so by clicking the corresponding drop-down and changing the patterns. Single, dual, or tricolor patterns can be selected for a specific module doing this. Once the pattern is selected, the color that will be flashing is assigned here for each side. In the case of a multicolor pattern, multiple color assignments can also be set. Let's change to a dual color pattern to demonstrate this. Now you can see that there are 2 drop-downs to allow for pattern changes. This allows you to select the color that will flash with each alternating cycle. The same goes for triple color patterns. On the same row, at the right side for both driver and passenger sides, is an option for phase swap. This forces selected modules to flash on the opposite phase. For example, if I selected this on the driver front corner, this module will flash with the passenger side lighting. This allows for custom patterns, such as every other module or inside out. The multi-select area allows for programming of all front, all rear, flashing takedowns, or arrow pattern. To program all front or all rear modules to a specific pattern, simply click the drop-down for all front or all rear, like so. Whichever pattern you select will be applied to all front or all rear modules. Use the filter above to limit the list to single, dual, or tricolors, as well as SAE, ECE, or California Title 13 compliant patterns. Once a pattern is selected, color assignment can also be set for the modules right here. Flashing takedowns and arrow patterns are set using these drop-downs. When using a light bar with an odd number of front or rear modules, the option to flash both colors on the center module can be checked. This allows the center module to flash on both faces of a pattern. The last section of flash pattern programming is the mode selection. SoundOff signal light bars can flash up to 8 different patterns. Think of each mode as a new canvas where patterns, colors, and faces can all be set differently. Once all flash patterns have been assigned, it's time to program the input triggers. Start by clicking on the breakout box Input tab. On this page, each input can be programmed to do a specific function. The inputs correspond to the different wires of a breakout box or to the buttons of a 400 series siren control panel. For each wire or control panel input, one or more light bar functions can be set to activate or deactivate. To activate a function for an input, start by selecting the input. Then, functions can be assigned by clicking them on or off. When a function is activated, it's green. Deactivating a function requires one more click of the mouse to turn it red. In the case of 2 inputs competing for control over the same output, there is an option for priority at the bottom. Numerically higher priority allows for more control. For example, if input number 1 was activating the front corner lights, and input number 13 was deactivating the corner lights, setting input number 1 to priority 4 would allow it to activate lights regardless of the status of input number 13. All the functions programmed earlier in this video can be activated or deactivated on this page. This includes flashing lights, traffic arrow control, takedown, alley, and scene functions, miscellaneous functions like steady burn and low power, flash pattern modes, and stop tail turn functions. Some inputs can be set to receive a ground or a positive trigger to activate. This can be adjusted here by selecting the input type. The thresholds can also be adjusted, but the defaults usually do the job. At the bottom of the input list are special inputs for photosensor, speed sense, and matrices. Photosensor is an input that is active when it's dark outside. If you wanted low power or cruise lights to activate with photosensor, it's just a matter of mapping those functions to that input. Remember, those functions were set to the different light heads at the beginning of this video. Speed sense is available only to M-Power light bars. Connecting a pulsed signal wire to input number 24 on an M-Power breakout box automatically routes to these inputs. Certain functions can be set to speed sense, allowing the light bar to do different things based on speed. Using the drop-down to the right, pick the vehicle type and then pick a range of speed to make it active. This is excellent for setting up automatic pattern changes using the different light bar modes. The final part of this section is building a matrix. A matrix allows an input to be conditional of other inputs. For example, if I wanted to create a brake function matrix that activates when the lights are on but not in park, I could set this up using a matrix. For this, I would need 3 conditions. The first is the slide switch is active, and the second is the vehicle's not in park. Now this would require a wired input to the vehicle's park signal. We would just have to pick out which wire we were actually connected to. The third condition would be the brakes are on, and again that's going to be another wire that's tied to the brake signal. Once this is all set up, you map this just like the others. In this case, we're going to activate the stop function. The last couple of sections are more to do with setup than they are programming. We're going to start with the control simulator. The control simulator allows the user to activate functions right from their computer. Both the light bar and the breakout box must be powered up for this to work. Following that, make sure that you have a program uploaded to the breakout box. Once that's completed, turning on the individual inputs will turn on the programmed functions. Diagnostics allow for firmware updating of the breakout box or light bar modules. When connecting to a breakout box that is currently powered up, if there's a firmware update, the Lightbar Configurator software will automatically notify the user. With M-Power light bars, there may also be a requirement to update the individual modules. Again, this will be notified to the user upon plugging into the breakout box, with one exception. The breakout box and the light bar have to have power for this to work. Now, updating firmware is very simple. The first thing you have to do is click what you're updating, if prompted, and then click Update Firmware. The debug screen is likely to not be used unless requested by a SoundOff Signal tech support representative. The last screen is the photosensor. The photosensor screen allows the user to change when the photosensor is activated. By default, it's already activated with every new light bar. Unchecking photosensor enabled would deactivate the photosensor functions for this light bar. Ambient light settings can be set here, and the default light setting works for most. Adjusting it may be required in areas with higher concentrations of cloud cover. There's a delay setting that can be adjusted higher than the default to combat areas with lots of trees or bridges that create shade areas. That covers basic programming of SoundOff Signal light bars. Don't hesitate to reach out to technical support for any additional questions.